Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. Today's episode is called CEO Secrets. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, and follow us. Also, remember to click on the notification bell so you can be notified every time we upload a new episode. I'd like to tell you about a service called HollywoodIsCalling.com. It's a great service that allows you to purchase live phone calls from your favorite celebrities, so check them out. A live 15-second call is $19.95 and a live 30-second call is $29.95. Buy a call for yourself or buy a call as a gift for somebody you know. HollywoodIsCalling.com. Now, let's get started. On today's episode, we're going to allow CEOs to anonymously answer some of the questions sent in by viewers. Here's the first question. Is it true that some companies are now using the bad economy as an excuse to get rid of employees that are older or paid too much, paid too well? Well, here's the answer provided anonymously by one of the CEOs. Companies are always looking for reasons to get rid of older and higher paid employees. They're always looking for ways to rid themselves of employees that are going to be qualifying for their pension soon. They're always looking for ways to get rid of employees that complain too much, threaten to file discrimination suits, or just make the company's job more difficult. There's actually software being developed out there to algorithmically determine if an employee is likely to file a discrimination or harassment suit in the near future. And if so, it shows the employer how and when to fire them before they file a lawsuit against you. A favorite joke amongst CEOs is the best way to get fired is to get old, get bold, or refuse to get told. Next question. What kind of employees do companies hate most? The answer is really interesting. The CEO said that they quickly target and remove anyone who steals from their company or that is planning to start their own company and take some of their clients away and use them for their own new company. Basically, they define theft very broadly. If you're stealing inventory, you're fired. If you're stealing customers and clients for your new company, you're fired. If you're stealing their time, meaning you're doing something for yourself while they're paying you, you're fired. Next question. How often do CEOs sleep with their employees, vendors, or clients? Answer. Well, it still happens occasionally, but if Fortune 1000 company finds out that a CEO or an executive or manager is having an affair and exposing them to a future sexual harassment suit, then that is a great way to get fired from your company very quickly. Number 4, do companies spy on their customers? The answer is they don't have to spy anymore. All they have to do is to state in their company's terms of service that they will be collecting data on you. And since this is all buried in such fine print that no one ever reads, then the customer usually clicks yes and consents to that data collection. What are some of the data and information that companies are collecting on me or about me as a customer? Well, if you own a smartphone, then the amount of data that is being collected about you is much more than people realize in many instances. Virtually every conversation you have is constantly being recorded, transcribed, and uploaded by your smartphone to their database and their servers and stored for later use or monetization. Everyone you talk to is being tracked, analyzed, and recorded by your phone. So whether you're talking to one other person or 10 other people standing in a big group, they're all being recorded. Everywhere you go, everywhere you drive, everything you purchase and everything you watch on TV is noticed and recorded and analyzed by your phone. Insurance companies and hospitals will soon track how often you go to the bathroom, how often you go to the gym, to a bar, to a brothel, how often you stay out late, how often you get drunk, how often you do drugs, how often you raise your voice or argue with people. All this data can be used to analyze your physical and mental health for hospitals and insurance companies, and may be used to directly or indirectly increase your insurance rates and charge you in other ways. They will record how often you go to the casino or purchase a lottery ticket. They will record how often you swear at your boss behind his back or what your political inclinations are. Your phone's browsing history is constantly being monitored, and it's telling them whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, a communist, a socialist, whatever the case may be, they know. The motion sensor on your phone can tell your insurance company or the police if you've had a car accident, if you drove over the speed limit, or if you had a bad drive, if you're a bad driver. Now, it can analyze the types of restaurants you eat at and determine if you eat too much junk food. Most CEOs will tell you that they don't view their phones as communication devices. They view them as professional spies in their pockets whose job it is to look for patterns in your behavior that they can then use as an excuse to charge you more for some service or product. The really clever and highly sophisticated CEOs will put their phones in a Faraday bag or pouch that prevents it from transmitting a signal anywhere. So while they're collecting all sorts of data on everybody that's a customer of theirs, they themselves, they don't want their phones listening or spying or collecting data on them. Now, do companies sell customer data to law enforcement so they can then use that same data to try and arrest people? Well, law enforcement now uses a system called Palantir. It's a massive company and a massive database that has information on people and things that are associated with them. For example, if a police officer types in the address of a house or a car or a person or a sporting event, then Palantir will tell them who owns it, who visits it, who used it, who talked to somebody at that place or event that may be of interest to them. If you type in the name of a person into Palantir, it will tell you all the meaningful and defined places, people, things, and events that that person is connected to or associated with. Palantir will allow users to identify deep patterns of behavior or connections between people or things or events that may not be obvious at first to investigating officers, but can be brought to their attention to help them fight crime. Now, it can allow investigators looking at individual criminals or places to access different databases, financial records, DNA samples, sound and voice samples, video clips, maps, floor plans, IQ evaluations, and other forms of information that may be helpful to law enforcement as they investigate a criminal or a place or an event. Today, it's possible for SWAT teams preparing to enter a house, a drug house, to pull up the floor plans of that house on their phones or iPads to see exactly what the interior looks like before they batter in the front door. Remember how in the movies, the police would always put a tracking device on a criminal's car to see where they're going? Well, that can still be done sometimes, but it's also more likely that the police will track you electronically just by using the existing factory electronics in your car or your cell phone. There's a funny story out there now that about how both professional criminals and street criminals are all carrying small pocket-sized cell phone and GPS jammers on them, on their persons, to kill any cell phones around them and prevent them from working while they're doing whatever they're doing. What's interesting is that criminals will use them to prevent other phones from working and to prevent GPS signals around them from revealing their location because they don't want their cars constantly reporting to someone else, like law enforcement, and telling them where they're going and where they've been. So what's the latest business that companies are all getting into to make more money off their customers? Well, it's called the subscription business model. Companies just don't want to sell you something once and collect a one-time payment from you. They now want to collect a monthly subscription payment from you every month for the life of the product. Because of that, they're coming up with all sorts of ways to charge you for things that you used to assume were free, or that were going to be free for you just because you bought their products. For example, one car manufacturer now has over 100 million lines of code on their cars. And when these new cars malfunction and the customers take them to the dealer can't fix them because the software is just so bloated and so complex and full of bugs that they can't even diagnose and fix their own cars. The code is so cumbersome that car manufacturers have now hired one of the largest software companies in the world to help them diagnose and fix their own cars because their dealers can't do it anymore. Think about that. 100 million lines of code. This is all done very deliberately because everyone knows that code crashes all the time. And if you can force your customer to come back to your dealer rather than a local service station, every time your car refuses to start or there's a technical problem, then that is a new and perpetual revenue stream from that customer. Now, they're applying that same subscription business model to all sorts of products that have no need for it. That's what the entire Internet of Things movement is all about. They want to internet-enable toasters, toilet seats, refrigerators, bidets, blow dryers, and even pens, so they can continue to extract money from customers with a monthly subscription payment in creative and perpetually new ways. That's the future of consumer products. With that, I want to thank you for watching and tell you we're going to have more great celebrity interviews and more breaking news stories coming up in the near future. So we want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell so you can get notified every time we post a new story. Bye-bye.